Hey, seventh grade. Sorry about all the problems with Schoology. They have so much traffic on their website ever worldwide. Teachers are using it, and so it has a lot of glitches. They keep working on it, and I wish I could make it run smoothly every time. Uh, Fortunately, email is working okay, so hopefully you would have been able to get back onto Schoology because it's back up as of a little while ago, and have been able to watch the first two videos on birds one that I made to introduce them, and the other one, the eyewitness video, and then the quiz that I made from those two videos. Now I want to make a video to get us started on section 1 of chapter 17 on birds, and then so you can complete your notes that, of course, will be uploaded for you. And so our chapter begins giving just general characteristics of birds, some of which I kind of said on my introduction video. But let's look at the board behind me, and then we'll look in our book as well and go through some of these unique features that birds have. So I'm looking at my bird poster, and similar to that poster on the reptiles and amphibians, in the middle it has listed unique characteristics for birds. So let's look. Backbones, feathers, they breathe oxygen with lungs, they're warm-blooded, or what we call endothermic, light hollow bones, and lay those amniotic eggs with a hard shell. Our next section, section 2, we're going to talk about some of these different types of birds, and some of them you have to see around here, the large birds of prey, water birds, perching birds, and flightless birds. And then, of course, I have a neat picture of our American symbol, the bald eagle, which, of course, is a beautiful bird of prey. Okay, so let's look at our book, and let's see what it has to say in this section about birds. Okay, so find your book. Of course, you'll be needing it to answer your notes. It begins on page 442. And let's switch over. And so here we are, 442. Goes through those general characteristics, that they're warm-blooded, that they have feathers. And so the first part they focus on is the feathers right here. And feathers, of course, that keep them warm, give them the ability to fly. And there's more than one type of feather. You may be aware of this, and we'll talk about those in a minute, the down and the contour feathers. But first, to introduce us to the terms preening. When a bird, and I think the eyewitness video talked about this, when a bird preens, it is spreading oil on their feathers. And they have a gland above their tail called an oil gland or a preening gland. And it helps to waterproof the feathers and keep them clean. And periodically, they molt or lose feathers. It's like we are constantly losing hair and skin off of our bodies. They will lose feathers periodically. Got a variety of birds pictured here: a hummingbird, a toucan, a heron. On the next page, it goes into different types of feathers. The down feathers are those fluffy ones that we like to make pillows and down comforters out of. They're very soft. They insulate the bird. They trap in its body heat, so it helps the bird to stay warm. The contour feathers are the ones that aid them in flight and can be very colorful. And they cover the top over the down feathers. It shows you the parts of a feather here, and I'm not going to make you memorize all of those parts of the feather. It talks about how birds need a lot of energy, and I mentioned this in the introductory video. They eat a lot because they have to, the ones that fly have to overcome gravity. and get up in the air and then maintain flight. And that is something that requires a lot of energy. And so they are able to digest food very quickly. But what we haven't talked about yet is the crop and the gizzard that you see pictured here in your book. One thing that's also unique about birds is that they don't have teeth. They have beaks, but there are no teeth in their beaks. And that is to also make them lighter for flying. And so because they don't have teeth, they have a crop and a gizzard to help them digest the food. The food, they take it into their mouth, whether it's seeds or berries or insects or worms or whatever, goes down to the crop where it's stored for a little while. And then from the crop, it goes to the gizzard right here. The gizzard has little tiny stones or rocks in it. So you'll see birds sometimes eating little teeny tiny stones or like shells at the seashore. And that is what grinds their food up. So those little rocks, those little pebbles, those little seashell bits in their gizzard actually grinds their food because they don't have teeth. And from there, it goes on to throughout their intestines. I know that this is not really mentioned, but I want to tell you that birds don't have bladders. I don't know, you may think that's kind of gross, but they don't urinate like you and I do. That's another adaptation to make them lighter for flying, and I don't even think our book goes into that, but they do not have a bladder. Everything just comes out of their anus, and it's all mixed together. So that's why, when you see bird poop, it's kind of liquidy looking. It contains everything like the liquid part of it that for other animals would be urinated, and then also the solid portion of it. So it includes all of it. And that's to make them lighter for flying. Just never know what kind of fun facts you're going to learn about in science class. The next page, actually the next 2 pages in your book, focuses on flight and how they are adapted to flying with their ability to have a really fast heartbeat, to circulate oxygen very fast throughout their bodies, throughout their lungs for flight. They have these air sacs to enable them to take in more oxygen and to get it flowing faster. They have large eyes. Think about it. They're up in the air, they're flying around, they're looking for food. They have to have really good eyesight to look down and see a worm or an insect or, a flower. If it's a hummingbird, looking for a flower to get nectar from. So they have excellent eyesight, really, really good eyesight to help them and find their food. They have, of course, wings for flight, and their wings have really strong muscles to help them so they can, maintain flight and keep moving those wings. They have what's called a keel that the wing muscles are attached to. Hollow bones, we mentioned earlier. Look, the inside of their bones are hollow to make them lighter for flying. And they have a very strong and flexible skeleton for flight. So these 2 pages right here focus on their adaptations for flight. And then we move on to, how they talk about how they are able to fly and get off the ground. They have something that's created that's called lift that helps use air currents moving under the wings to create lift so they can, make it off the ground. Later on, when you get into a physics class, you'll probably learn about Bernoulli's principle with regard to lift. They don't go into to explain about Bernoulli's principle to you. They just talk about the air current under the wings and how it moves, and then over the wing, which creates this lift. The last part of this section talks about baby birds and raising them. Okay, they lay those amniotic eggs. Some of them make nests, not all of them. There is a robin's nest right there, pictured in our book. Talks about how birds will sit on their eggs, what we call brooding, to keep them warm until they hatch. And then once they hatch, birds are either one of two types. They're either precocial or altricial. Precocial would be like ducks and chickens, geese. And once they hatch, like the little chickens we hatched here in class, they can eat on their own. They can walk around. They may not be able to fly yet or swim yet if it's a duck, but they're able to eat and digest food and things like that. Whereas a bluebird or an eagle or, a robin, those are all altricial. And so once they hatch, they can't walk around and eat. Their mother or their father has to bring food to them until they're old enough to be able to walk and then fly on their own. So those type, altricial, are more dependent upon the parents once they hatch versus the precocial birds. That is the end of our first section. Section 2 will focus on types of birds. We'll do that next week. So now that you watched this video, complete your notes. You do not, listen to me, you do not have to email me your notes for this. I'm getting so many emails that's really hard to keep track of with all my classes, all my students. Use your continue to use your Oak Brook school email address to get in touch with me. And when I do ask for something to be, sent back to me, like a quiz or whatever, send it through your Oak Brook. Because I get so many, you know how it is when you open up your email screen. I have got so many emails, to scroll through. So what I do is I go to the top, to the search bar, and I search for individual students by name. And that way I can find you and find whatever you sent me. It's easier for me to do it that way versus scrolling through hundreds of emails, because I get hundreds on a daily basis. And I spend more time, and it takes me longer to grade, to get things back to you because of that. It's just one of the many things that I'm having to deal with, as y'all are having to deal with a lot of stuff too, with regard to all this. I hope everybody's doing well. Enjoy the sunshine, get out and get some fresh air. It's good for you, but of course keep a safe distance from non-family, members that we don't want to keep staying indoors indefinitely. We want to get past this and be able to go about our normal routines again as quickly as possible. But stay safe, and keep checking Schoology again. Be prepared. It's going to have some issues off and on. Just be patient. Keep trying. And again, when I realize that there is a problem, I will, try to overcome it by sending it to you in an email individually, like I did actually earlier before I made this video. I sent y'all emails for the eyewitness and the other video that I made because Schoology was down. But keep trying with Schoology. It's all the websites are having a lot of problems. I wish they would work easier, but we can only do so much. Y'all take care. Talk to you later. Bye-bye.